Greetings and salutations, it's me, Heini Mika, once again. So now I'm doing something a little bit more different. I know I have my Artist Reacts series, but these kind of videos have been requested for a while now, and not just from people from Instagram. In real life, actually, people have asked me to do these kind of painting videos where I just paint and maybe talk about art or whatever. And it wasn't until last week, I believe, when a good friend of mine, Dani, she messaged me on Instagram where I posted like a clip of this painting here, and I was kind of explaining my process a little bit, and she said that, you know, it's so nice to see me paint and to hear me explain what the painting is about, basically. And I was kind of like, well, you know, I have had so many requests, and I always thought they're kind of boring. Like, technically, why would somebody want to, you know, sit and watch a video about painting, or to see an artist paint and talk about, you know, whatever. I always thought that would be, you know, kind of dull. But yeah, apparently not. Apparently people, they want to see me paint and explain you know, what the painting is about, basically. So yeah, I suppose I'm gonna, and this was Dani's idea actually, so this series is gonna be called Paint and Explain. So this time I'm not gonna talk about this painting as of yet, because yeah, it's not finished, and because it's for a competition, so I kind of want to keep it under wraps or something like that. But what I'm gonna talk about while you see me paint and mix and whatever, what I'm gonna talk about is one of my older paintings. It's still in Bali, I suppose. I mean, it is still Bali. In Bali there was art show in Bali. I didn't win the competition, but yeah, I was invited to participate in the exhibition in the end. So that painting is still in Bali, and that painting is Girls Visit Harlots. You'll see the picture here. So I figured I might as well talk about that painting to get this series started, because that painting is expensive. Like, I admit, that painting is expensive, but it's so close to my heart, and it took me a very long time to finish that painting, hence the price. So many things inspire me, but history especially is very close to my heart. I love all those stories from the past. And so how Harlots came about is actually the TV series, the Hulu TV series. Like, they just now finished the 3rd season, and I personally fell in love with that TV show, and just the idea of women in the sex industry. And then I just, watching the 1st season, I remembered that back in the day, I mean way back in the day, apparently what some of the noble women of the nobility, because obviously they had to remain a virgin until they got married. So what they used to do is maybe hire a prostitute or a courtesan to come and explain how things worked or how to please their men. And I found that very, very interesting. So then I started, you know, I watched the series and I started to think about this, and then this painting kind of came to me. The idea of these princesses, the princesses in my painting. So these princesses going to a brothel, and then hiring the girls there to explain yeah, how to please the future husbands and how to be good in bed. And in this painting, it's a little bit tongue on the cheek, kind of, because they have gathered for a group photo. And in the painting, you see the girls on the couch and on the carpet. Those are the princesses, and the women behind them in the striped dresses, those are the prostitutes. So I kind of tried to, like, in my opinion, the title of the painting explains itself. So I tried to make it a little bit more obvious by having the prostitutes wear similar gowns compared to the princesses. And yeah, that's another thing about my paintings. Like, I try to keep the titles relatively simple, so that people, even if they don't know how to read art, or like in my art for example, so yeah, who don't have the eye or the training to read the small cues that painters and artists give you, at least in my opinion, the titles are pretty self-explanatory. And thus, in case girls visit harlots. I didn't put princesses visit harlots. I put girls visit harlots. So yeah, and that painting, it took me a very long time, because if you have seen my previous paintings, or if you know anything about my style, you probably don't, so I'll explain. So I like to make very detailed paintings. I take pleasure in the small details, like over here you can see the flowers. Yeah, taking time and putting on effort to make all these small tiny things. Sometimes I would make it even more detailed, like all the line work, and paint all the leaves and whatnot, especially when it comes to nature and flowers, like paint them individually. So I don't normally do this kind of thing, that I would just have a lump of a leaf or a petal, and then kind of just start mixing the colors and see what happens, which is what watercolor painting is usually about. Like very traditional watercolor artists, this is precisely what they do. And I'm just experimenting with a new style over here, and this is more my style, which is why many people, when I tell them that I make watercolor paintings, and when they see my paintings, they don't believe me. Like, generally I don't get believed. People usually say that, oh, okay, so it's acrylic, like that cannot be watercolors. And I'm like, no, I swear this is watercolors. It's just my style, basically. So the Harlots one, yes, I spent a lot of time and effort making that painting, because you can see all the small tiny details. The wallpaper, for example, I didn't copy paste. I just copy paste the shape of the butterflies and the flowers and whatnot. That's copy paste, but otherwise no. Every single detail and ornament is hand painted, which is why it might look a little bit crooked, or yeah, not 100% even, and that's just because it's 100% handmade. And in my opinion, in my case, it actually works. It gives it a little more like a human touch. And when people ask me how much time did you spend on such and such painting, I say months. I don't say I spent 3,000 hours on such and such painting. In my opinion, even though like many people have said that's kind of the professional way to do it, in my opinion, when a buyer or an art admirer asks how long did you spend painting that painting, if you say 3,000 hours, it doesn't really say anything. In my opinion, it doesn't say much. It's like, okay, it sounds like a much, but you don't have a frame. So that's why I prefer to say I spent 2 months, I spent 3 weeks, I spent 5 months on such and such painting, so that you can have a kind of an idea, put it into a better perspective, in my opinion. So the Harlots one, it took me several months. Like at the moment, I guess it took me about, maybe I would say maybe 3 months or so. It's just because I was working at the time. Like I cannot paint every single day, because obviously I have a day job, obviously. So yeah, I cannot paint every single day. So which is why I have paintings that took easily 5 months. It was just because my day job was getting super hectic. So I didn't have time to paint, to be honest, or I was just so exhausted that I didn't have time to paint. And maybe later I will get to my day job, because my day job is actually very exciting, very inspiring as well. So now I'm just gonna let this dry, and this is a 2-2. I try to, when I make this kind of history inspired paintings, I tried to make them at least semi-authentic, like unless it's intended that it's not supposed to be historically accurate. But like with the hairstyles and the accessories and the gowns themselves, like what kind of gowns the women in the 18th century, what kind of gowns or designs they would have worn. I look for inspiration online, and I actually look at pictures and drawings, and I watch documentaries about these sort of things, so that it's just for myself. But I also take, I take pride in that if there would be somebody who's a, let's say, 18th century fashion expert or something, and if they happen to see my painting, they can say, hopefully they can say that, oh, okay, yes, those gowns look quite accurate. But yeah, so that was the Harlots painting, and obviously, yeah, there are more of these coming, and yeah, so I'm gonna shut up, and you can watch me paint for a few more minutes before I sign out. But yes, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on Instagram, because I post more of these like clips on Instagram where you can see me paint.